So thank you everyone for joining. My name is Ray Guarneri. I am the head of business development at Executive IP. And Executive IP is the global leader in IP training solutions for businesses. And to put it simply, my job is to help IP professionals establish best practices in intellectual property education in their organizations. And on our agenda today is a brief overview of Executive IP, which is Questel's e-learning solution. And my goal today is to share best practices in building an IP savvy workforce. And you can accomplish everything that I'm going to cover today on your own. So I promise that you'll get value today, even if you don't decide to work with us in the future. But of course, I hope that you do, so that we can save you time, money, and stress. And after that overview, we'll hear from one of Executive IP's customers, Dr. Lauren Schweizer, who's the head of the group IP at SGL Carbon. And Lauren has deep experience in raising the IP IQ of her organization. So you'll definitely want to stick around, because after her testimonial, we'll conclude today's session with a Q&A. So if you have questions, please do feel free to enter them in the chat box at any time during the session, and we'll be sure to address them at the end. So let's get into it. Why does IP training matter? Well, IP strategies are decided by you and your partners in senior leadership, but they're executed by everyone in your business. And without IP savvy, any IP strategy is vulnerable. IP risks and opportunities touch every part of a business, from senior management to R&D to sales. Each role interacts with IP in unique ways, whether that's through patents, trademarks, trade secrets, or competitive intelligence. So by increasing employee IP awareness, companies can better protect their assets and capitalize on opportunities. Now, the traditional approach to corporate IP awareness training is to get everyone into a room or a Teams meeting for maybe an hour or so, go through a PowerPoint deck on IP fundamentals, and then maybe spend the last 10 or 15 minutes answering questions. So I think we have a poll prepared. We're gonna throw up a poll right now. Well, let me make sure. Oh, here we go. Here's the poll. Sorry, there must have been a little bit of a delay. So here's the poll. Have you provided at least one live, virtual or in-person IP training session for your organization in the last 12 months? Okay, this is great. I'm loving these results so far. Okay, so not everyone has responded, but probably about 83% we're at. 83% of you have done a live training session before. And that's actually really great. I mean, we talked to a lot of organizations who had never done this before we met them, but a lot of large, medium, and the really large organizations who have a very sophisticated approach to doing live training sessions. And we've been doing this for going on 15 years now. And so we'll be the first to tell you that live training is the best medium for communicating pertinent information about IP to your colleagues, especially because it helps you build relationships, right? And establish a line of communication between the IP department and everyone else. But there's a few challenges with this approach that we hear from our clients over and over again. And that's what's on screen here on this slide. So number one is attendance. If you invite 50 or 100 colleagues to an IP training, you're lucky if half of them show up, which means there's always a certain percentage of the population that needs to wait until the next session, or they just don't get that information. And then the second one, of course, is retention. The people who show up to these trainings are human, so they'll probably forget. I mean, I'm sure that everyone on this call is a great presenter, But no matter how good of a presenter you are, people are going to forget some stuff a couple of weeks or even months later. I usually forget what I had for breakfast by the time lunch comes around. And then, of course, value. So the most important part, the most valuable part of an IP training session is usually that last 10, 15, 20 minutes when you're asking or when you're answering the questions that everyone's asking, right? And having some kind of back and forth discussion about how these IP concepts apply practically to the things that they're working on. It's not usually that first, 45 minutes or an hour when you're just clicking through a PowerPoint presentation. And here's the reality. IP departments are usually small in proportion to the non-IP professionals in your organization. You've got R&D, marketing, business development. You might only have a few IP people who are responsible for training dozens or even hundreds or thousands of people. And we also have to be honest with ourselves. Most people don't wake up excited about sitting through an IP training session. I mean, I'm sure you're all thrilled to be here today on this webinar, but it's not exactly Game of Thrones or Severance to spend an hour talking about patentability and inventorship. So this is where executive IP comes in. Our solution is short, engaging, video-based training. And these aren't your typical corporate training videos. We're talking about 3 to 5 minute bite-sized pieces that are easy to digest, that keep your colleagues engaged. Think of it like the Netflix of IP training. Quick episodes that keep people coming back for more. So on screen here is our demonstration library of over 1,000 videos. And you can see here that, whoops, let me go back to it. You can see here that this covers everything from patents to trademarks. We have trade secrets, non-disclosure agreements. There's a lot of content here. And most of this is globally applicable in that it's designed to make sense regardless of where you or your trainees are located geographically or where you operate. And all of these courses are available in 26 languages. If I hover over the available languages here, you can see the country codes. And then we do also have region-specific videos where appropriate. So for example, EU community designs, EPO patents and oppositions, and then even within each of these categories, there are region-specific videos. So if I look here through this patent fundamentals, since that's my favorite, you'll see a list of all of the video titles, and then of course the duration over here on the right. And this is super important. The average is between 3 and 6 minutes. There's maybe 1 or 2 that are 10 minutes or longer, but most of them are 3 to 6 minutes or so. And this is super important, right? Because delivering bite-sized pieces of information periodically over a long span of time results in higher engagement with the campaign. When I get my invitation to my annual ethics training, and Glenn and Deb, no offense, the training's great. Those are our HR folks. But it's 2 hours long. And my first thought is, oh boy, I don't have 2 hours right now. And then I might put it off for a week or two. And I'm a training guy. I know people who will put it off until December 29th after a sternly worded letter from HR. So the point is that bite-sized delivery results in higher engagement. The goal of an IP awareness campaign is to ensure that people are actually aware. And on top of this, drip feeding IP keeps the topic on people's minds. So people are more likely to pick up the phone and call you when there's an issue or an opportunity if they recently watched a video about IP. So now, I know I said there's 1,000 videos here. It's a lot. But at Executive IP, we don't just hand you 1,000 videos and then say, okay, good luck. We'll talk to you next year. No, we will partner with you to create the best plan for your trainees and then help you execute that plan. And I'm going to pull up a sample here. So, okay. Can everyone see the Excel spreadsheet? Good. So this Excel spreadsheet is what we call a sample curriculum or a learning path. So we'll customize this for each client. On the left here, this is just a list of the videos and the durations. And then these columns on the right represent different functions within a business. And the selected cells in here indicate that, you know, we will deliver that video to this group of people in month 1 and month 2 and so on. So when we get started, we'll sit down with you and we'll figure out, okay, who do you want to train? What are the main topics that are relevant to each audience? How much time do you want them to spend on a weekly or a monthly basis? And we've done this. We've created thousands of programs literally for hundreds of companies all over the world. So we have a strong sense based on, you know, your company, the size, your technology area, your industry, the knowledge level of people currently, that we can create a program that's really tailored to your people in your organization quickly. And so from there, what we do is we'll select the most relevant videos from our library, put them in a logical order, and then distribute them to the trainees. And to the end user, it's super straightforward. They get an email, they click the link, they spend 5 or 10 minutes watching 1 or 2 videos, and sometimes they answer, you know, a short quiz. There's a little interactive exercise at the end, and then they move on with their lives. And this approach also ensures that the information we share is relevant to people. So not everyone needs to know the same things about IP. So curating a curriculum of IP training videos based upon the roles or the functions of your trainees will increase engagement with the training. You can have the best training in the world, but if no one looks at it because they think, oh, it's not relevant to me, then it really isn't doing you any good. So I want to talk about what we refer to as on-demand resources. And on screen here is what we call a resource page or an IP training library. You'll see it looks very similar to the demo catalog. So this is the one for SGL Carbon, and it is a branded version of that catalog that I showed you before. So what you could do is you can put this on your SharePoint page or your innovation page, even your email signature, and then people can come here to learn more about IP. They can browse by topic or type a query in the search box here, and all they need to do to watch a video is just say click on the title or on the play button and it pops open in a new tab. Now, this is a more, say, passive approach to delivering information about IP, but having these kind of on-demand resources isn't just about having information available to everyone else and then hoping that people go find it. It's also about having a tool for you and other leaders in your organization to respond to unanticipated needs, right? So this is an easy way to take advantage of learning opportunities that arise in your day-to-day interactions. So, for example, we had a client, not SGL Carbon, we had a client who recently told me that they had an engineer do a patent search on their own. They used Google Patents, and they sent a link, an email with a link to that search to Patent Counsel, and they referenced the patent number in the subject line, and in the body of the email they said, "I think we're infringing this patent."
Sorry.
Right. No, I know it's funny. I mean, it's not. It's only funny in hindsight, because, you know, thankfully the situation was resolved. But I have the same conversation with so many people, and it happens. It happens. So what can you do with that, right? So you can come to our library here, and I'm going to do it on the demo version. You can type in what you put in writing could adversely impact, oops, I misspelled it. There it is. What you put in writing could adversely impact litigation, okay? All you have to do is click the copy button here, and the link to that video goes on your clipboard. And what our client did in that case was they replied to that email, pasted the link to that video and said, watch this and then come to my office. So, and it doesn't always have to be negative, though. Of course, there's another good example is, say you're working with a new supplier and you have to share confidential information under NDA with the supplier. There's going to be a team of engineers meeting with them next week. You can come to this program on NDAs and say, copy the link to some of these videos, like mark your confidential disclosures, reduce oral disclosures to writing, keep an NDA file, right? And say, hey, look, in advance of our meeting on Thursday, please watch these 3 videos so that we can have a more substantive discussion about how we're going to manage this relationship. So you get the idea. Now, you probably noticed that on this SGL Carbon page, there's this lovely section that says SGL Carbon Custom Courses. So I just want to touch on this topic of customization. But before that, it makes sense to just give you a quick history of executive IP. So when we started 12 or 13 years ago, we created our first 5 videos on spec. Since then, every video we've created has been at the request of our clients, folks like Lauren, who you'll hear from in a moment. They came to us and said, we like your 5 videos, but we need a program on FTO, IP enforcement, how to read a patent, trade secrets, trademarks, and so on. And so we created it for them. And over the years, we've built up a very cost and time efficient process for creating new IP training material. So you suggest a topic for a video that you need that we don't already have, and then we draft a script, you review and revise it if necessary, so that it says exactly what you want it to say. And then we film it, edit it, and put it into our library quickly and at no cost to you. That's how we do product development. So what does this mean for you, practically speaking? 4 things. Number 1, because we work with some of the biggest companies in the world, their fingerprints are all over this training library. It's peer reviewed in a sense. Number 2, you get a tailored message delivered to your trainees. Number 3, as you request new videos and our other clients request new videos, the value of the information that's in this library compounds over time. And then number 4 is we will create totally custom training that's only available to your organization, and we'll also do this for you at no additional cost. Okay, so before I pass this on to Lauren, I just want to mention that we offer a free, no commitment pilot program. So if anyone's interested, you can reach out to me directly at my contact information on screen. And then we'll also send out these slides and a recording of the presentation in the coming days. So I know this was a lot, but I hope you found it beneficial. If you have any questions remaining, please enter them in the chat and we'll do our best to address them during the Q&A at the end. Okay, that's enough from me. I'm going to pass the baton over to Lauren from SGL Carbon. Lauren, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you very much. So I don't have a presentation prepared, but I thought I would just walk you through how we got to executive IP. First of all, Ray, your description of executive IP, what you pitched to me I guess 2 years ago now, that is incredibly representative of the actual experience, the reality of the user experience within executive IP. And so that's not always the case. Not all expectations are typically met. With this service provider, I can confirm, at least in our experience, they have been met and exceeded, and I'd be happy to go into that as well. But just maybe let's start from the beginning. So how did executive IP come to us? Of course, you're approached by many service providers, and it was no different here. It was, I think, the second approach that got us, and it was the reason that I said yes, even to the appointment, was because it was great timing. I had undergone, so I came from as external counsel, now in-house. And as an external counsel, your peers are on the same level as you on the IP knowledge. Going in-house, and of course you're working with clients, but your clients have approached you with some type of patent knowledge or trademark knowledge or IP question for you. So they're also on a different level. You go in-house, and I started this journey as patent counsel responsible for a business unit. So that's where I started this. And I realized immediately that that horizontal plane that I was working on before has now a substantial vertical of IP knowledge that is not to be traversed with anything other than some type of scalable solution. So as part of my onboarding way back when, I had individual meetings with key stakeholders up and down that vertical. And of course, with IP, you're talking about stakeholders that are anybody from the CEO, strategic partners, CFO with the monetization, down to the factory worker who is on a daily basis working with know-how and trade secrets, whether they know it or not. So in my opinion, every single person in the company needs to have some level, some type of IP awareness. Now, how is that being done, or how was that being done at that time? More of a top-down approach. So it was part of the compliance training. And so you would get a PowerPoint presentation that you literally had to read. And as a technical expert or someone that has nothing to do with IP, you're like, oh, this is great. And then you take a test at the end. And then you have other group meetings. Of course, the group meetings, you can't have a company-wide meeting because the sales people speak a different language than the R&D, who speaks a different language than the product managers. So you have individual meetings, group meetings, and in the end, that's just a gigantic amount of time that is taken away from your operative, the time that you saved for your operative functions. So I said, I can scale this. I'm going to record a video. And not just one, like 3. And it started with internal processes, and then it went to really defining, let's do actual patent monitoring. Here's how you identify an independent claim versus a dependent claim. And I was just at my wit's end, because in the end, having a 5-minute video, because you don't want anything longer than about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes maybe, I spent 3 hours trying to get a 3-minute video put together. And I don't know how it is for all of you guys, but I'm not one to, and I hate hearing my own voice, and I hate watching myself on video. So it was really hard for me to record the video and then actually post it, knowing that thousands of people are going to watch this. So I overcame those inhibitions, and I did it for the 3 videos, but I told myself, this is not going to work in any long-term fashion. And that's when Ray approached us for the second time, and I said, let's hear it. And sure enough, it was exactly what I was envisioning that I would be doing. And it was at a much more professional level, obviously, and obviously more scalable as well. Because the content, which Ray showed you briefly, these are topics that, yes, you might have thought of, but when? And when would you have had the time to address these topics and record a video of yourself and edit while you're doing the international litigation, prosecution, contractual negotiations? When do you have time to do this? And so this was really a gold mine for me. We said yes to the trial phase, and I can't remember, I think that it was 2 weeks, and you extended it to 4, something like that. I'm based in Germany, and I'm American accent, but in Germany, we have like a lot of holidays. And of course, everybody was on holidays during that. So the flexibility, even within the trial period, the pilot program was amazing. And the feedback that I got from these colleagues was something to be reckoned with. They came back to me talking about chairs. I will never forget. And if you dive into this program, there is this, I think it's just how to analyze a claim, or what is a claim, or something like that. It's one of the videos in the pilot. And they talk about when you have a claim that says comprising 3 legs, that also means that you protect a chair, not with just 3 legs, but with 4 legs. And these people, I mean, these are senior technical experts with decades of knowledge who have not wanted to touch a patent in probably a decade. And they come to me proactively engaged and was like, hey, did you see the chair? the three-legged chair. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This is fabulous. That engagement was immediately apparent, even in colleagues where I thought that all hope has been lost. And so that the immediate engagement, the immediate positive feedback from my colleagues was the light that I needed to say this could really work for us. And if it could work for us in this stage of professional life, then I know that it can work for other companies as well. Well, we made the leap. I pitched it to the board, and they were all about it. So the resonance within the company was high. I lucked out there, and I got buy-in, and it hasn't disappointed. You can't have buy-in without a good price, and that is something outside of the great timing and the great feedback from the business colleagues, the users of this program. The formalities were also there. I thought it was very fairly priced, especially when you hear of the continued development of the program, of the library, and the ease of access. But I also think that not every US company can withstand European regulations. And that, it sounds small, but if you are based in Europe, you will know that it's an absolute headache. And the formalities of data protection and the IC security and the internal policies, the amount of paperwork that Ray had to fill out for us, the turnaround was excellent and just an easy process. I've worked with enough service providers to know that that is not always the case. It takes a reminder and, oh, you filled out 5 of the 6 forms. That 6 is actually really important. And, that did not happen. It was a very professional team, a professional pilot program that turned into a professional relationship. And from my side, I can say that that's worked really well. How we implemented it was, obviously I got rid of my videos, but as an add-on, basically. So we still have that top-down compliance PowerPoint presentation. We still have the individual meetings, but now, as Ray suggested, and maybe that's why we've implemented it like that, before we have large meetings, I say, go watch these videos. Even if half of the people watch the video, that is a huge burden on me. And now it's their fault for not being at the right standard coming in. And I don't waste my time now for the first 15 minutes of the presentation describing what is a claim and how to read it, but rather now I can go into the actual details of the patent monitoring, of the dangers that we're trying to get while reading it. So that training has, executive IP, that library has really made my meetings, yes, they still occur, but in my opinion, they are more efficient, and we can talk at we can start at a much deeper level, and therefore we can reach a much deeper level of knowledge by the end of it. Since it's an add-on, we decided to do it as a voluntary program. That means that not everybody has to take part. If you're on the list of users and you don't take part in any of the videos, then you have no consequences, but I can kick you out of the program and replace you with someone who does have the motivation. For me, this is a professional development. Not every technical expert, not all sales or product managers or anybody else, they're not required to have this as part of their repertoire, but I think this makes them better, the entire team better, and then of course the entire company better. The risk management mitigation is there, but also your value, you can give to so many more people at scale. Right, so that all worked out really well, and that was the plan, but we had an area where we had a new trade secret. So, we work in nuclear, military. We also do a lot of B2B, but we have a lot of trade secrets, right? So it's just kind of, we're a graphite manufacturer. We have a good number of patents, but trade secrets are really, really important. And we had a new area where a trade secret was developed and had to be protected, where the colleagues were not had not been refreshed on their trade secret knowledge in a while. So I took that opportunity. Yes, we had to have the individual trainings for those colleagues, but before every single meeting, I had them watch 2 videos. That means a total 2 videos, 10 minutes, 10 minutes of their time. The depth of the video, the density of the information in the video, that's something that would have taken me at least a half an hour. And instead of going into that, what is a trade secret and why should you care? They watched the video. We started with our internal policies. We had the direct implementation. Here are the things that I expect you to do, or that not I, but the company expects you to do, and then Q&A. And that made the meeting, instead of 2 hours, maybe an hour, with a much, again, deeper level of knowledge coming out. So that was a great surprise. That's been incredibly helpful. And the entire collaboration here, the flexibility, whether I need, X number of users or maybe plus 10 because we have a hot topic. Executive IP as a service provider has been very service oriented. Right. And I just have to have a shout out to Michael as well. He's our contact partner and he's been absolutely wonderful. I've already communicated that to Ray, but I get reports every month. We have calls where he updates me on the progress of these users. Are you sure? What about this? We're going into year 2. We've developed a program for you. Is this okay? Yes, yes, yes. The tailoring is appropriate. Yes, we can proceed. So even those decisions that would have taken, a couple hours even to select from the library, Executive IP will serve it to you on a silver platter. So, yeah. I guess that's all from my side. I can continue if you want, but I think that we should open up the floor for Q&A.
Lauren, thank you so much. Lots of warm and fuzzies were going through my head during that. I really appreciate it, and it's really nice to hear all of that positive feedback and that it's really worked out for you. I love hearing the stories of people approaching our IP contacts, excited about chairs. Those are the best. So a few questions that I have rolled in here. And the first one that I noted is you were kind of, I think, indicating it a little bit, and without obviously singling anyone out. What would you say, Lauren, are some of the first signs that an organization really needs to mature or improve awareness around intellectual property fundamentals?
For me, it was the sales team. I think that the R&D team should always be in close contact with the IP. For me, it's not enough, and it has to be that triangle between R&D, IP, and sales, because sales are your first line of defense and offense in any type of infringement. They are, they monitor the market for you. And I personally noticed a weakness in the IP awareness at our sales level. And I think that's the only way to mature, is to make sure that especially your front lines, are very knowledgeable about patent claims, infringement. They're also the ones that's probably going to make the mistake at conferences or at a customer. The confidentiality clauses that we have, obviously, in our contracts are strong, but it's better not to disclose. And if you don't teach them before, then you're really walking into a danger zone. And I think you have a video about the sales pitch, and it really does lay out in the shortest amount of time to say, these are the things that you need to work on. So that was the sign for me that we needed to take the next step and mature a little bit more. And then I think that this is something that you can easily get with all of your individual talks. If you're networked appropriately, you'll know whether the awareness is there or not.
Yeah. Yeah, and that I think, most of the people who are here with us today did say that they've been doing these kind of live training sessions, and that's a really good point, right? So you kind of, I don't know if the person who asked that question maybe hasn't done any of those kinds of trainings before. We typically will say, if you haven't done that yet, you haven't really gotten out there and built relationships with people, in small group or large group settings, that might be a stronger first step. We can, of course, still work with you, as you're rolling those things out. So you kind of do things both at once. That's a very good point, Lauren, that you really kind of get a sense as to the pulse of the organization in those settings.
I have to say that that was another surprising effect of the library that I was obviously not expecting. That you have a lot of videos and they're categorized under different topics. And just to jog your own mind as kind of a sanity check, have I addressed this problem in the company that I work in? Have I really do my product managers actually know that? Huh, let me
Mm,
ask my best. And if the best doesn't know, then the other ones aren't going to know either. And so really the targeted, just jogging your mind by going through the library was already enough for me to say, okay, well, there might be a weak spot. Let's dig in. And in
yeah,
the question, let's mature. Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. Another question that we have on here is about timelines. I guess it's kind of a two-part question. So part one is, how long does it typically take to roll out an organization-wide IP training program? And then what teams would you suggest be involved at the early stages to ensure a smooth implementation? Um, I have answers to that, but I'd like to hear from you first, Lauren, kind of just from your firsthand
Sure.
experience, and then I can maybe share what I've learned talking to others as well.
Yeah, I think that your feedback's going to be more valuable, but I can offer our specific feedback. So the timeline for the rollout, I mean, the formalities were kind of the roadblock here, but the timeline is already set. We chose a um, one or two videos per month for each of our users, and that seems to be a really good rhythm. So the timeline for rollout to the entire organization, that's completely scalable. we chose um, we chose a certain number for our core people, and those core people should in so we chose business managers who manage a team or are heavily involved in, for example, patent monitoring or something, so that the scalability that we're giving to the managers hopefully filters down into their team. We also encourage people in their team meetings, if they haven't watched the video already, maybe to share it with one or two team members so that not only they, but their entire team can be filled in on whatever is the hot IP topic for them that month. However, it does take time. We've done a year program, and then just for the basic training, that's one time per month, a video or two, a total of 10 to 15 minutes is what they've watched, and yeah, 12 months, and then they've gone through one course of the training. Our entry tech has been bumped up to advanced tech for the second year, and our decision is to switch out. So we have, sorry, let's categorize. We have tech entry, tech advanced, and those are really kind of in the R&D, product managers, and sales. You can also, Ray, you can speak to this, of course, but marketing, you can do all types of departments. We chose that as our target, and then we're switching out the people. So we rolled it out in our most core business line, and now we're going to roll it out to our other three for the second year.
Yeah.
Does that
Okay.
describe it?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a good. I mean, there's sort of two ways to answer the question about timeline. One is, how long does it take until you get that first course in front of people, the first module in front of people? And then, of course, there's the question of, how long does it take until you establish momentum and a critical mass, let's just say, with the program in general. And as far as, actually setting up the program, it's super easy from our standpoint. It's not like a highly technical implementation. It's not like getting a new docketing system. It's as simple as, putting together the list of participants and kind of categorizing them, agreeing on what the curriculum will look like, what information will go into it. And then once that's agreed upon by us and our client, we can launch within a week or so. So it can really be as quickly as, from the time that we've signed an agreement to the first module being released. It could be 2 weeks or less even. I'd say it averages about a month. To build that sort of critical mass, like Lauren said, it does take time. But that's sort of by design. You don't, because if you try to dump too much information on people too quickly, you'll start to have the opposite effect. And then instead of coming up to you with excited commentary on chair patents, you get, angry glares from across the office that I've been made to, do all this extra training.
And can I jump in there with just further comment? So since we've just gone through, now we've hit the 12-month mark. I've had many meetings where people have come back to me after I've started talking about something and said, "Oh wait, was that the video where?" So it's already come back to me without me asking. So the 12 months we've already established, we have absolutely raised awareness for the core people that we've selected.
Yeah, that's great to hear. There were a few more questions in here. I know we're kind of bumping up toward the end of time here. Let me just see, scrolling through this. Some of these were kind of already answered.
While you read those, I have another comment, another unexpected benefit that came to mind, where within our intellectual property group, watching the videos and making sure that, we've selected an appropriate video for someone, we have been brought closer to the business. It's jogged our memory of, what are potential problems that the business might be having that they haven't communicated to us yet. And throughout this year, it really has brought us closer to their day-to-day business. And that's, I think, as the support function of group IP, of group intellectual property, or group legal in general, you always kind of have a barrier raised because, you're legal. But breaking down that barrier, these videos have really helped with doing that.
That's a good point. And so I see, like, there's an interesting question that most of these have been answered, talking about kind of like how has the culture shifted and what improvements have been seen.
Breaking down barriers, that's certainly a culture shift.
That's a very good one. There is one question here about the pilot program that I wanted to address. So what exactly is included in the pilot program, and how do organizations evaluate success during that trial period? So just maybe I'll give a quick overview of that, Lauren, and then Lauren, you can maybe share kind of your experience with that. But the pilot program is 3 weeks, and we allow up to 50 participants. It's totally free. There's no cost. So 50 participants, 3 weeks. Each week we will deliver 1 or 2 short videos to them via email. So that's about, say 8 to 12 minutes of time invested each week for those 3 weeks. It could be multiple groups. You could target, R&D type, sales, marketing, product managers, product owners, whoever you want. And we'll tailor the videos that we suggest for the pilot based upon those different groups. So it's not a one size fits all. We will propose which videos to be used for the pilot, but you of course always have the final say. If you think we've missed the mark in some way in the videos we've suggested, as in, maybe this topic is not relevant for that group, you have the final say about what we ask them to look at. And the only thing that we need, again, are their names and email addresses so that we can send them the videos. And then there is a short survey at the end. So, did I like this training? Did I learn anything useful? Would I recommend this to my organization? And then we give you all the feedback, all of the results of that feedback. So we show you who did it, who didn't do the training yet, and what comments did they leave on the survey. Most organizations, so the average engagement and net promoter score. So engagement is anywhere from, say, 40 to 80% engagement. And just for context, in the sort of e-learning industry, for optional training programs, the industry standard engagement rate is between 10 and 20%, which is not good in our opinion. And most IP training is optional. It's not, the same as like safety training or ethics training. And so but we typically see between 40 and 80%. That's both for the pilot and for our clients who sign up after the pilot. The average is maybe 55 to 60% engagement when it's optional. Of course, if it's mandatory, it's going to be close to 100%. And a few of our clients do make it mandatory. The average net promoter score is 85 to 90%. So of those who do complete the training and fill out the survey, 85 to 95% will say, yes, I like this. This was valuable. I recommend this to my organization. Talk to any HR or learning and development professional and ask them what their net promoter score is for some of the mandatory compliance trainings that they deliver. It's not 85 to 90%. I won't comment on that, but it's exceptionally high and well received, and that's usually a big selling point. Of course, the only where it can become a challenge in sort of converting from pilot to becoming a client is, what level of buy-in do you have as an IP leader within your organization to around the topic of intellectual property in general. Not every C-suite or executive board sees IP as a value driver as opposed to a cost center. And that's something that we often spend a lot of time helping our clients navigate who really want to do this, but maybe are struggling to get that support internally. So it was a bit of a long-winded answer, but I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Lauren.
Oh, completely agree. And I think the reports cycle back, by the way, with those who have already given their buy-in. The reports, I use them to report as basically a KPI, and I haven't gotten any negative feedback of, user engagement isn't high enough. The compliance thing, all of our compliance training goes through one platform, and it was a struggle It was a struggle before, but it continues to be a struggle to get any IP voluntary education on their platform, because basically everything that goes through the compliance platform is mandatory. And so this has really been a relief to say, okay, IP, this voluntary, it doesn't come with the strings of the compliance program, and also it's more enjoyable. It's enjoyable to watch these videos and the feedback that you'll get from your colleagues, whether it be, oh my God, did you see that guy? Oh my God, did you see that guy? It's just as you described, engaging, it's entertaining even. It's not only engaging, it's really entertaining. So having that breath of fresh air, especially in such a space that many people consider boring, I don't think so, but having that breath of fresh air is really, it gives me the opportunity in my company to present IP in a different light than what they've seen before.
Thank you, Lauren. I really appreciate it. I know there's a few other small questions in here, but we're gonna wrap up here. We're about 10 minutes over already. Thanks. Most of you hung on here to the end. Appreciate that. There is one question about seeing that you'd like to see a sample of these videos. Following the webinar, we're going to send out the slides, the recording, as well as a link to our demonstration library so that you can watch any of the videos in our library that you're interested in seeing. So you'll be able to play around with that for a couple of weeks, let's say to the end of the year, to watch some of these videos. And then, of course, if you have questions, if you'd like to set up a pilot, please feel free to reach out to us. Lauren, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope
No
our
problem.
audience found that valuable. I know I did. Happy holidays, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your year.
Take
Bye
care.
for now.
Bye.